Welcome back to Talking Point. Joining me now, I'd like to welcome political analyst from the Northwest University, Professor Andre Duvenhage, to take this conversation forward. Prof, always good having you on. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Faraz and the viewers. Nice talking to you.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Prof, here's the thing, right? You've got poor performances by the ANC in many municipalities. You've got the DA performing relatively decently. Some critics may say this is only in areas where the DA has a strong constituency. And yet the DA has these internal issues that are happening. I'm trying to use the right words, but is this another own goal from the DA, what we saw with Deon George?
Let's first try to contextualize what is going on here. I think since about the 2021 local elections, we have seen major changes in the political spectrum. After the 2021 local elections, we ended off with about 70 of the 257 municipalities where there were no single party that had an absolute majority. And this pattern continued towards the 2024 national and provincial elections, where we currently have a government of national unity and we have at least two provincial structures where there are coalition formations. And with it, there's a total new dynamic playing itself out, either between or among political parties or within parties. Now, the latter, within parties, we have seen a lot of dynamics within the ANC. We have seen that within the MK party. I think there are 5 or 6 secretary generals since the establishment. We have seen that with Freedom Front Plus, the conflict in that ranks on certain levels, and now also within the Democratic Alliance. And it seems for smaller parties, and I include the DA within that context now, or opposition parties, that it is difficult to be in government and in opposition simultaneously. And as a result of that, that created a lot of tension and a lot of conflict. And the DA is no exception to this rule.
Yeah, you bring up something quite interesting there, Professor, because the quote from Deon George where he says that the DA would do anything and the words that you subservient towards the ANC within the government of national unity, yet you've got the DA, of course, going ahead and criticizing the ANC or having issues with the ANC when it comes to foreign policy, land expropriation without compensation, the NHI bill, the Bella bill, and I guess there is a certain contradiction, right, over there. So how do we balance this out, Professor?
I think that is the big challenge of coalition politics. On certain levels, you need to compromise, and on other levels, you need to keep your identity. And especially when you are building up to an election, and I'm talking about the 2026 local elections, the question of identity is a critical one. And to make the issue even more problematic is the fact that we have asymmetrical coalitions. For example, the government of national unity differ from the Gauteng government of provincial unity, differ from the KwaZulu-Natal government of provincial unity, differ from many other structures at the local level. So how do a party positioning themselves within this complicated framework? And I believe in many ways our political culture is at this point not ready, or our democracy is not yet matured on the level where we can accommodate aspects of power politics, which is inherent to party competition on the one side, and on the other side, compromise in order to make coalitions work. But the point that is important is the future is going to deliver even more coalitions. And I won't be surprised if we are going to have double the total of coalitions going out of the 2026 local elections in comparison to the 2021 local elections.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you there, Professor, because when you look at polling, when you look at just the way governance structures are going within this country, it looks more likely that that would potentially happen. Prof, the comments made by George, where, of course, and I mentioned it in the previous question, that the DA would do anything, is sort of beholden to the ANC in terms of wanting to be within this government of national unity. It was quite a damning statement, wasn't it, given that, I mean, these two were opposition parties right up until the 2024 national elections.
Basically, if you can remember back after the 2024 election, one of the main motivations for the DA, and I think Helen Zille mentioned that very prominently, was that they will rather take up the position within the government of national unity or governments of provincial unity rather than allowing the ANC to make a coalition with the EFF, the MK party, and or other radical parties. So that was their basic strategy. And despite the fact that the ANC did not provide equal representativity, they really didn't get the best positions. The DA settled for that. But now there's another dimension when it comes to Deon George and John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen is the leader of the party and the Minister of Agriculture. And Deon George is the Treasurer General in ANC terms, or the Minister of Finance, if you want to, of the Democratic Alliance. Both senior members. Now they are working in two portfolios that is literally in some ways in conflict with each other. John Steenhuisen is struggling with the portfolio of agriculture. We have the whole back and close here pandemic. I don't know the English for that.
Foot and mouth. It's called foot and mouth.
Foot and mouth disease, yes. That is a big problem. And on the other side, we have environmental affairs, which is very much ideologically driven. And the two ideologies here is, on the one side, you have Deon George with a more green approach. And if you compare that with Willie Inkamp, who is more part of the hunting industry and that type of line.
Yeah, fossil fuels, fossil fuels.
Fossil fuels, and it was interesting when Deon George resigned, he referred to ANC co-option of John Steenhuisen and also the link to what he sees as criminal activities, lions in captivity, the illicit wildlife thing and so on. So basically, there was also ideological differences that was playing itself out within the context of the DA. And then we had the trigger of what we can refer to as financial mismanagement on the side of John Steenhuisen and Deon George taking away his credit card. There was an investigation of the Federal Legal Commission of the DA under the leadership of Glenys Buitenbach. She found that Steenhuisen was not guilty, and what they find was that both these two people has bringing the DA into disrepute in the outside with their public comments, and there need to be disciplinary investigations. And at that point, I believe, Deon George decided it is better to jump rather than to be pushed. And it was also clear that within the context of the DA, building up to an electoral conference, I think it is in April 2026, his position within the party is also in danger. And the result was that he resigned all positions within Parliament, within the Democratic Alliance, as a deputy minister, etc.
Him going on national television, Prof, and we've got about 2 minutes left. Him going on national television, was it a smart move by him?
Well, if you do not want to continue your political career, and it was a goodbye to your political career, you can see that as a smart move. But if you still want to continue your political career, I believe that was a bad move. However, you know, as they say with karma, it is coming back. I don't believe that John Steenhuisen is going to find it all the way that easy. I'm already seeing that Beaumont of Action South Africa is putting certain arguments into play that can harm the position of John Steenhuisen, which is historical in nature. I'm not going to go into the content, but the fact of the matter is that these things are coming back, and it will be interesting to see how all of this will play itself out when it comes to the elective conference. My take on the DA is that I think it is probably for the party a best case scenario that Deon George resigned and find his way out.
Well, this conversation will continue with Professor Andre Duvenhage. We are months away from their federal Congress, but also we are, I could say, maybe 10 months away from the local government elections. And this is the elections that the DA sold to South Africa, that we can take control of the metros. But what has happened here, does that affect it? Does that sort of put a slight dent to the ambitions of ruling, especially the three major metros, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane? Do stay tuned. Talking Point returns after the break. Welcome back to Talking Point. I'm sitting in conversation with Professor Andre Duvenhage. Prof, when you look at the local government elections in what potentially could be 10 or in 11 months' time, this is seen as the one where the DA could be in either the driver's seat in the three big metros, especially here within Gauteng province, or having an upper hand within the coalition. What does the events of Deon George do with regards to the DA's ambitions in that regards?
Just before we come to Deon George and the DA, let's create a bit of a macro picture and point out a few important tendencies. The first one is that the ANC is in the process of losing support. Already in the 2021 elections, they did not achieve majorities in 6 out of the 8 metropoles. And it was clear that while the ANC support is going down, it seems as if the Democratic Alliance's support is picking up, to the extent that in certain surveys, there was a very, very close relation between the support base of the DA as well as that of the ANC. And what is interesting at the moment, some surveys are putting the ANC on about 35%, some putting the DA on 32%. Now, my own assessment is that maybe the ANC is on 35%, but I am not reading the Democratic Alliance on a figure above 30%. I believe that the party's realistic support base is closer to 25%, maybe even lower, down to 22%. That is more or less their normal line. But now we also need to take into consideration that there are different actors going to play a role. I think about 500 plus parties are registered for the 2026 elections. We know that the MK party is going to make a huge difference in KZN, but also in the adjacent Mpumalanga and maybe in some constituencies throughout the country, specifically where there's a majority of Zulu-speaking people. And then also we are reading the EFF in a bit of decline with their leadership challenges. And we have also seen that Action South Africa is not always getting the momentum. Now I'm coming to the second part. Within that context and looking at what is going on within the ANC as well as the MK party, I believe that the type of damage to the Democratic Alliance is going to be limited. And the reason, therefore, is that I don't think Dion George has a very high profile outside of the party. He may be an important link on the inside, but he was not a prominent figure on the outside. I'm not seeing him as one of the role models of the DA, referring here to the likes of people like Tony Leon, Helen Zille, and you can even put Steenhuisen within that context. I also believe that Willie Oekop's profile is stronger than that of Dr. Dion George. So in that sense, it is limited. But there's going to be questions about the integrity of the internal processes. And already I receive a question, isn't the DA on the same level as the ANC when it's coming to internal ethical processes and protocols? I think there's a bit of a difference, but some will argue that there are some similarities.
Yeah, I want to come to that question because it's a similar one I want you to speak about. When you look at, of course, the FLC within the DA, that is, of course, where Dion George took his sort of disgruntledness to the senior Congress of the DA. And when you look at the ANC's, Integrity Commission, it's also very similar in terms of picking and choosing. If you're in the Ramaphosa camp, you may just get away with it. If you're in the opposition camp, well, you are going to be disciplined. But you point out something quite important there, that some DA voters may look past that because of the deliverables of the party. Is it as simple as that, Professor?
Well, it is probably not as simple as just that, because politics are influenced by many, many factors. And we need to take into consideration that we will only have elections in 10 or 11 months from here. And as things is going in South African and international politics, a lot can change towards the end of the year. And my own take is South African politics is into a new dynamic with many things that are playing itself out. We have the succession battle that are going on within the ANC. Some are saying we may see changes within the framework of the DA. However, I believe that John Steenhuisen is the most likely candidate to survive. But definitely there are ethical issues at stake here. But then the bigger political principle is also applicable here. And that is that power is stronger than legal frameworks. And when it comes to a crisis, power, or the person with the power, is in most cases stronger than the legal framework. And I believe that is what is going on in many parties, specifically in the South African context, under our proportional electoral system, where political power is highly centralized within parties, either within the leader or within a strong executive committee. And both is true of the ANC as well as the Democratic Alliance. If you want to survive politically, the first prerequisite is get enough political power, have enough gun. Otherwise, you are going to lose.
Prof, you know what's interesting about what you've mentioned there is the sort of playing the political game. And I often argue that both the ANC and the DA have a very similar problem. That is the sort of future for the party. When I look at the leadership of the ANC, who is the next best young leader that can come out of there? We're still scratching our heads. When you look at the Democratic Alliance, who's the next best young leader that can come out of there? We're probably scratching our heads also. It has taken Helen Zille, as experienced and as vastly knowledgeable as she is, to come out and run for the city of Johannesburg mayor. Within the Democratic Alliance perspective, is there, and we have to look 5 to 10 years, is there a sort of leadership crisis that they are going through? Even though there's discussions and he is seen as slightly younger, somebody like a Jordan Hill-Lewis to potentially go ahead and succeed the DA leader position. But other than him, is there any other real leader, when you look to the future, that can really take this party forward?
Not all the names with me, but there are at least 3 people. You refer to Jordan Hill-Lewis. He's definitely mentioned, but also the name of the provincial leader in the Western Cape, as well as one of the so-called colored leaders. I think he's an MEC there with the surname of Meyer. His name is also mentioned. And then the former mayor of Gauteng. These are of Tshwane. These are the names.
Solium Simanga,
These are the names that are in play at the moment. So for the DA, it's a bit of a better scenario. When it comes to the ANC, for me, this is a serious challenge. Who are the potential people that can take over from Cyril Ramaphosa? Fikile Mbalula has his own history, and to me is not the solution the ANC needs at this point. Paul Mashatile of the Alexandra Mafia with his own baggage and whatever coming through. The Ramagopas within the ANC. These people problematic. Naledi Pandor. These are not the type of people that I believe should lead South Africa at this point in time. So generally speaking, I agree with you that there are major leadership challenges, basically because the current South African political paradigm is failing, and we need a reformist leader that can take us into a new paradigm. But unfortunately, the vested interest in the current paradigm is too heavy. In other words, we are at a Rubicon moment in South African politics. And we know that P.W. Botha didn't want to go over the Rubicon in the late 80s, but his successor, F.W. de Klerk, did. And I think in some ways, we need a reformist leader, a leader that can bring about political reform. And I'm not seeing it within the context of the ANC and in a limited way within the context of the DA.
That opens up the opportunity, doesn't it, Professor, for these, I don't want to say smaller parties, but these sort of newer parties, the likes of Unite for South Africa, or Unite for Change, I beg your pardon. Some would argue Action SA. Are those the sort of parties that the South Africans would be potentially looking at, other than those of the legacy parties? And when I talk legacy parties, I talk, of course, the ANC and the DA.
I think if we look at voting behavior in South Africa, historically, even before 1994, but you can also refer to the democratic era post-1994, you will find that people are voting very conservative. What is interesting, for a long time, I think maybe we must use specific statistics to motivate that. But in the 2004 elections, the ANC achieved 69.7% of the national support. And this went down to about 40% in the 2024 elections. But if you look for where the other 30% went, it is interesting, not all of it went the way of the DA or the EFF or maybe the MK party. There were high levels of political apathy. So the point I'm making, South African voters are not easily voting for new parties. A lot must happen. But I believe at this point, since about 2021, and we have seen that in 2024, and I believe we are going to see yet again in 2026, we are going to see changes in the voting behavior. But there's one big challenge for the smaller party. And let's again look at maybe the 2021 logistical arrangements of that big election. There was something like 257 municipalities, 13,000 wards that need to be elected. There were 30,000 voting stations. So for small parties to compete on even a provincial level is going to be extremely difficult from a financial and a logistical point of view. My take on the situation is we are going to see a fragmentation of the process. We are going to see more parties getting less support, and we are going to see more coalitions consisting of a fragmented political spectrum. ANC with lower support, a DA with more or less the same support, and a lot of smaller parties. And this is going to bring in a lot of instability into the political spectrum. And therefore, I am one of the strong supporters for legislation, even changes to the constitution, in order to have explicit rules for coalition politics to get some sort of order and stability within the political framework where coalitions are operating.
Prof, always good having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
That's Professor Andre Duvenhage, a political analyst from the Northwest University. Well, that's all we have for you here on Talking Point from myself, Faraz Patel, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Shukran so much for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.